curiously, the North Star that it was pointing at is 5 degrees off from our polar star. So I think that the evidence shows that this pyramid was built before the flood by the highly advanced civilization that lived before the flood of Noah, and that it originally pointed to the North Star at that time. But
are there any inhabitants living on the curvature before you get into the hollow inner space?
The North Polar opening is located in the Arctic Ocean, so that there is no land until you get halfway through the opening. Then you reach the inner continent. Now, this inner continent has been sighted as a mirage all around the Arctic. The Russians have sighted it north of the New Siberian Islands. They call it Sannikov land. There was an explorer, Fridtjof Nansen, took his ship, the Fram, up there trying to find Sannikov land. He came very close to it, and he found noticed a lot of anomalous happenings up there, phenomenon. For example, he noticed that at 70 degrees north latitude, 135 east longitude, in the middle of the winter, in January, he noticed that a north wind raised the temperature, while a south wind lowered it. So warm air coming up out of the polar opening causes mirages of allowing people around the Arctic to see this land inside the Earth. Now, a person down here in the lower latitudes, if you see a mirage, you usually see the sky because you're looking down a highway, and the hot layer of air just above the highway reflects the sky.
Yeah, that's true.
But up in the Arctic, it's exactly the opposite, because warm air coming up out of the polar opening goes up way up above you. In fact, it's called the temperature inversion. They call it temperature inversion because it's warmer higher up than down next to the ice.
Now, if the North Polar opening, though, is indeed there, and you say it's in the ocean, what's keeping the water from not going down there like a drain? Just flooding the inside.
Gravity. Gravity is gravity, as any student of physics knows, is caused by a concentration of mass. Wherever you have the largest concentration of mass, that's where gravity flows. And all the Earth's mass, except a very small portion of it, is in the Earth's shell, not in the center of the Earth. So as you're going around the curvature of the opening, your feet are held to the surface of the planet, just like it is on the outside of the surface of the planet.
Can you assume, Rodney, that if the Earth formed this way, other planets form the same way?
Absolutely. On my website, I have a picture of the Hubble Space Telescope image of the North Polar opening of Mars. Usually, the North Polar opening of Mars is covered by so much cloud cover that they claim it's ice, but it's really not. They're actually clouds. And these clouds, they go way up in the atmosphere, up to 50 miles up in the atmosphere, so high that you can even see it by telescope from Earth. It extends above the curvature of the planet. But on this one certain day, there was hardly any cloud cover. And you can see down inside the polar opening, it looks like a giant crater. And I encourage you all to go to my website and look at that picture of the North Polar opening of Mars. Now, astronomers have reported throughout history, and you can find records of this, that they have seen gleams of the inner sun shining out through certain times of the year, and certain passages of Mars around the sun, of the inner sun of Mars shining out through its polar opening. They have also seen that gleams of light shining out from the North Polar opening of Venus. And Mercury, curiously, is rolling around the sun on its side with its polar opening pointing towards the Earth. And scientists, astronomers have seen this bright white spot in the middle of Mercury. I'm wondering what it is, and all it is the polar opening of Mercury, and the inner sun shining out through it, and we can see it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this expedition that is planned. Exactly when is it planned?
Steve Curry of the expedition company of Provo, Utah, contacted me about a year ago. He's of my same faith, and so he wanted to work with me and asked me if anybody had been planning an expedition to the Hollow Earth, and I said, yeah, there's been several people. Jan Lomprek of South Africa, when he was writing his book in 1998, was planning an expedition, but never got off the ground. There's also the International Society for Hollow Earth, people that were planning a reflight of the Admiral Byrd flight, and I haven't heard that they've been able to get that off the ground. But Steve Curry has been taking satisfied explorers all around the world for over 30 years, 250,000 people he says he's taken, mainly river rafting, and he wanted to know if we could put together an expedition to the Hollow Earth, and wanted to know where I thought the most likely location of the North Polar opening is. And so we went up to Provo and visited with him, and we put together this expedition. Steve has chartered a Russian nuclear icebreaker called the Yamal. It has
and he, by the way, is a very experienced expedition organizer. He's been doing this for 250,000 people over the last 30 years, right?
He's been taking people all around the world on expeditions to China, to Tibet, to South America, to Russia, all over the world. In fact, in his expedition down the Zompel Gorge in Tibet with Steve Lindgren, who is one of the most famous explorers in the world today, they found hidden falls in about the year 2000 over in Tibet. And he was talking with the Tibetans, and they told him that behind this hidden falls is a cavern that goes to Agartha, which is their word for Hollow Earth. And according to their legend, many years ago, the king of the inner world came out through this cavern and told their ancestors that someday their people would emerge to outer Earth to help establish world peace. This reminded Steve about his father had told him when he was a boy of 15 years old, when his father organized the expedition company. His father had just read apparently Raymond Bernard's book, The Hollow Earth Again, and told his family that he would like to go to the North Pole to find the polar opening. Well, they thought he was a little bit off his rocker. Didn't put much credence in what he was saying, but he did put together this highly successful expedition company. But once the Tibetans told Steve about Agartha and this cavern, it got him to thinking again about the Hollow Earth and what his father had told him many years before. And so he decided to put together this expedition, and I've been helping him. And we're inviting anybody that's interested, as scientists, explorers, tourists. This ship, the Russian nuclear icebreaker, is one of the most powerful ships in the world, 70,000 horsepower. It cuts through the Arctic ice like butter.
And you really have a pretty good idea where you're going, right? So this isn't going to be trial and error, right?
I have triangulated the sightings of these mirages around the Arctic and estimated where the North Polar opening is located based on these sightings of mirages. Jan Lomprek of South Africa, in his book his book Hollow Planets, he published in 1998. I helped him a little bit on proofing his book and giving him some suggestions. But he did an excellent analysis of these mirages sighted around the Arctic.